some tiramisu.
Okay.
I'm really sad that I didn't get any yesterday.
You did get
No,
some.
but I didn't.
You literally ate it.
I didn't bring any home.
That's not the same as not having some.
But that's what I meant when I said it. I'm really sad that I didn't get any to bring home.
You want more.
I want more. I want more.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Hardly Working Through It, the show where we dig deeper into life, love, and labor. I'm Sean Patrick.
And I'm Kelly. And today we're answering the question, how do you keep honest and open communication with your partner?
Nailed it.
Thank you.
Did you see that I called myself Sean Patrick?
It was very weird.
It was weird.
SP. That's what it stands for if you didn't know.
That's
Sean
right.
Patrick stands for SP.
Yep, it's true.
Oh, there's questions on here to get to know each other.
Open and honest, yeah, you get to see him for the first time because I've shared the notes. I'm revealing my secrets to Kelly, my co-host, which is an important part of keeping healthy, open, and honest communication.
That's right.
But yes, so this is Hardly Working Through It. It's the third time I think we've done it, maybe fourth, third. We're answering the question of communication relationships. Happy, healthy, how do you keep it that
How do you
way?
keep an open and honest communication?
Yeah, I decided to say it, I guess, like Yoda for some reason,
Yeah.
switch it all around. But for these first few episodes, we've been asking and answering 3 mini questions just to get to know us better.
Oh,
Did you
3?
pull it up? Yeah, those top 3 there.
There's way more than 3.
I don't know. I just do the top 3 every time and then delete them.
Oh, okay. I thought we did this one.
Maybe? What is it?
Who is most likely, so we're going to answer some questions. Who is most likely to give up on the argument? You.
Oh, maybe yours isn't updated. Mine is.
So he's going to ask the questions, not me, because he didn't update it.
Who is most likely to stay up all night watching movies? 100%.
Because you're going to fall asleep like that. You fall asleep so quickly.
I fall asleep so fast. And it is one of the joys of my life.
I love that.
Falling asleep. Like those summer days where you're watching something and then you wake up and you're like, oh, I didn't even realize I fell asleep. Wow. Those are the best. Those are secret naps. Those are sneaky little naps.
That doesn't happen to me very often. It happened to me a couple days ago, if you remember. I fell asleep on the couch while we were watching a documentary.
I did not remember. Oh, yeah, that
and
one.
you were like, were you asleep? And I was like, yeah.
No,
I was asleep. I was tired.
I
would stay up late.
Yes, and I do feel like this is the appropriate show to share this on. A little detail of mine. I can't call it PTSD because that's not true. I had been in a relationship for a long time where the person I was with would get very frustrated that I would fall asleep so easily.
I don't care.
You don't, but it is ingrained in me that if I fall asleep and get caught, I will get in trouble.
He acts like he's been awake the whole time.
It's fine, so I'm awake.
I'm like, it's okay. He's like, well, I really like that part. I'm like, okay, what happened? Tell me more. Just kidding.
Yeah, it's all of it.
I just don't care. I'm like, you got some rest? That's great. I know that you're tired. I know you've been working really hard. Don't get mad at me when I fall asleep, and you don't. For the record.
Yeah.
But it is very funny because I won't know that he has fallen asleep, and so I'll look over, or I'll be like, oh babe, da 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 da. He'll be like, yep, that was great.
Just closing my eyes.
Yeah. I'm like, you're cool. Go to sleep. You're fine. Here's a blanket.
PTSD, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Not really, but look, we all carry baggage.
True.
And that is one of the really small bags I carry, but I do often feel like I'll get in trouble if I fall asleep.
Yeah.
But yes, so you're much more likely to watch anything.
Yeah, because I am that person that's like, I'm going to watch it all.
And I'm the one who's like, I should be working and can't enjoy anything. I can't enjoy anything.
You can sometimes.
Sometimes. All right, next one. Who is most likely to plan a trip?
Me.
I mean, that's
Me.
100%. We're coming up on our 5-year anniversary here, wedding anniversary.
Yep.
Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, we should probably celebrate. And she's like, we should go to Paris. I was like, you're a lunatic. That's not the stage of life we're in.
It's so possible.
It's
We've already been.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We've been twice
Take me
together.
to Iceland. Let's go see the Northern Lights.
Why?
Because I want to see. It's a bucket list thing for me. I just need you to know.
And I need you to know that the fact that you are not guaranteed to see Northern Lights up there makes it very uninteresting to me.
You just gotta go at a time of year where it's like the most likely. I learned that you could see them in
Canada.
No. Well, maybe,
Alaska.
but no, in Europe somewhere. In
Stockholm.
No, that's what I wanted to say, but it's not Ireland, Scotland.
Scotland.
I learned that you can. There are times and places that you can see them in Scotland, and that is way more exciting to me though to go to Scotland and see them than to go to Iceland. But I think Iceland might be closer.
Look, your husband's also colorblind, So the Aurora
It's not.
Borealis is a little Aurora boring to me.
That's true. Can you see the color? Like, can you see the fact that it's light, though?
Yeah, I can, but it's probably not what you guys see.
I know.
And every time I'm like, wow, look at that beautiful sunset. You and Brooklyn are always like, it's okay.
But I'm glad it's beautiful for you. You know what? I'll be more...
Sensitive to my handicaps? Thank
you. But I just need you to know it is a bucket list thing.
Yeah.
Like, I really do want to see the Northern Lights.
You're going to have a great time.
With you. But I am more likely to plan a trip. He is very thoughtful and very... like, you do think through things like that. A trip is just not the thing that you're going to plan.
No.
You'll plan like a nice dinner or a nice night out or something like that. Or you'll be like, hey, you'll say it. Hey, I think it'd be really fun to go and do this thing.
Yeah.
Can you help me plan it?
Yeah.
I am just the organized planner. Who does that? I get that from my dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Do you not remember the cruise where he was like, I looked into everything and this is what we're doing.
And
this
I
is the best
greatly
deal.
appreciated
Yeah,
it.
me too. Is there another question you're going to ask or no?
Yeah, so usually we do 3, but I just remembered because of how, you were telling me I'm such a great person. I was like, she's right. No, I remember.
And there on a high note.
That's right. And spend your week hardly working. No, Lewis Howes had posted this, and I screenshotted it because I wanted to mention it on this show.
Okay.
And rather than taking time for the 3rd get to know you, I think this will be a get to know you in and of itself. So we posted this. All it is all it is, comma, it says signs of love. This is in a relationship. Here's what it says.
Okay.
And you think about all these bullet
I'm
points.
like, do I put a finger up if it's true? Take a finger down if it's not?
Sure, why not? If you want to, you're an adult, do whatever you want. You can gamify it.
Okay.
No, but truly, my hope is if you are in a relationship or you're wanting to be in a relationship, my hope is that so many of these things, you can check them off your box and be like, that the person that I would want to be with or the person that I am with does this, does this, does this. And I thought it was special. So it's called Signs of Love, and these are the signs. This is like if someone texts you this or calls you or says this to you, right? This reminded me of you for the first thing in a photo, something like that.
Okay.
We do that all the time.
I was like, am I supposed to say, yeah, you do that?
Yeah, put a finger up or down. I don't know. Next. I'm going to the grocery store. Do you need anything?
Yeah.
All the time. Open your door. I sent you a little gift.
Aww.
I don't know about the open your door part.
Yeah, I don't understand that. We live together, so open
That's
your door, no. But bring home stuff or leave stuff in each other's cars, yes.
All the time. Did you get home safe? Make it home safe? That text?
Yeah, when we're away from each other.
Yeah, but also in our friendships and stuff.
Yeah.
Even though it always feels like we're overbearing parents. When we say, like, text me when you get home.
Yeah, or you stay up and wait for me to come home.
I do, especially this week.
No.
Next one. Letting someone know I am so proud of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do that a lot.
Yeah.
Let's go somewhere together.
Yeah.
Nope. Forget that one.
It doesn't have to be a trip. It could just be Din Tai Fung or Boba or...
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
Next. I'll be here for you. Easy. How about this? I'll cook this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That means a lot to me because I'm the one who cooks the most in the family.
Yeah.
But it brings me joy, but sometimes I'm like, I just need a break. He's like, oh God, I got it.
We also discovered something, and by we I mean me, that...
And Brooklyn.
Yeah, because I told her. So I cook the red meat in the house, like the steaks.
Yeah, you don't cook the ground beef, but yeah, you do cook the steaks.
Okay, I cook the steaks.
Yeah.
And it's not because Kelly can't. Kelly says it's because you do it so well. That's a great tip. If you tell your partner,
Just do
oh my gosh, you do so good. I'm so bad at that, and this the way you make steaks is amazing. Then that person, especially if it's a dude, is going to be like, well, I'm always going to cook the steak. But it also works with, like, if you mess up doing the dishes so bad, you might never have to do them again. Because Kelly never has to cook steak ever because she's like, I already got him on that.
Yep.
Pro
And I
tip
never
right
do the
there.
laundry because I already got him.
Dude,
on
Lord
that.
knows that's true. Jeez. Next up, this one's obvious. I'll be here for you. Sure. I'll cook. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I said that. How are you really? Like, how are you really doing?
Yeah.
We talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
I think you'll like this song.
Aw.
Sometimes we do that, but I'm not very musical.
Yeah, but you'll put on things like French cooking music when we're cooking because you're like, I think you'll like this.
That is a huge pro tip. If you've got...
Thank you, Alex Albrecht.
Yes, Alex Albrecht from Half Hour Happy Hour. If you've got some device that I won't say the names of because it triggers them, that plays music, just say, put on French cooking music on Pandora.
Yeah, it has to be on Pandora. If you
Yeah.
do it on anything else, it's not good.
Yeah, it's not quite right. But you will be whisked away
fun.
to a ratatouille universe and you'll
Yeah.
enjoy cooking. It's awesome. I have an extra ticket. Good luck today. How can I help? That's the one I always say. Things like,
How can I help?
how can I help? Yeah. In the last couple here, want to watch it together?
TikToks every night.
I can pick you up.
Yeah, you do that for me all the time. I can drive you there, and I'll come pick you up so that you can just, pardon me, be free.
Oh, she's getting all
have
choked up.
drinks, or-
If you're just listening, she's tearing up right now.
No.
All right, other ones. Tell me about your day. Always. Remember when we always be ready at 8. I have a surprise.
Aww.
That's really sweet. We've done that a few times before.
Yeah, we don't do that as much because we like to do things together.
And we spend every waking second together.
Yeah,
Typically.
so it's hard to keep secrets. And
Yeah.
we're not good at that. We have surprises. We're like, okay, I did this thing. I want to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. By the way, I bought you something and I haven't told you about it yet. Did you know?
Oh, no.
For real.
Is
That's
this
not
real?
one of the things. No,
okay.
I bought you
I
something.
was like, I would do that.
And
Really?
I haven't told you. Yeah.
Are you going to tell me on the podcast? No.
No, it's either coming today, sometime today,
Is it a Lego?
the 11th. Trick, you got so many Legos
so
still
many
left
Legos.
to build.
Just one. I only have one more left. So
Yeah, but it's a
many.
big one.
I know.
Tune into
Tomorrow for
Kelly's
my
Lego
weekend.
podcast soon. The last two, let's work this through together. We always try to figure that out.
Yeah.
And this is one that we say all the time, in different ways, shapes, and forms, is I can't imagine life without you.
Oh, yeah.
And that is like,
Mostly with tears streaming down my face.
yeah.
So if you don't know this about me, I'm just such an emotional person. Like, I will cry.
Yeah.
At the
You're
thought.
sentimental. You're not
Sentimental.
emotional in the sense that all of your emotions are big.
No, I'm sentimental, yeah.
Yeah.
I will cry at the thought of you going on a trip and leaving me for a few days. I will cry at the thought of you not making it home for
She'll yell and
anything.
scream about it. Not at all. She's so sweet
I know.
and so
I just
sympathetic.
love you so much.
Empathetic, yeah.
Don't die. Let me die 1st
Mhm.
when we're old.
Yeah. I had this thought the other day that you would die first.
Yeah, you told me that. You said, I think you're going to die first. And I said, that's the better way. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're going to do without me.
I'll make sure it happens that way.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so that was fun for me. Thanks for jumping in.
No,
and
sweet.
letting
No,
me
but it's true. And
take
I
the
think
reins.
it is a true thing. Like, if those things aren't true for you in your relationship, and mind you, not all of them, because not all of them are one for one. Like, there
Of
are things
course.
on that list that I'm like, yeah, we do that just in a different way.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm never gonna open my door and expect a surprise from you.
Yeah.
Like,
Or be like,
kind
I
of-
have an extra ticket. Like,
yeah, because we're gonna
yeah,
buy for each
verbiage,
other
yeah.
because we're married. But if those you don't resonate with a lot of those things, I'm sorry, number one, and I hope that you find someone that you can like share those things with, because it's such an important part. As we're talking about open communication, like it's a part of it. You know, it's a part of just like
Yeah.
knowing and loving your person. It's selfish. It's being selfish. It's being selfless. Who
Yeah.
am I?
I would say this too. I don't remember most of this stuff, but I was teaching one time on singleness, which is hilarious that I was teaching that. But one of the things that I talked about was like, we all have a list of things or qualities and characteristics that we hope that our partner will have, right?
Yeah.
You know, from practical things like cooks or has her own place to characteristics like is kind and compassionate, smart, funny, whatever it is. And I kind of use that like, hey, put together in your head like the list of qualities you're looking for or want in a person, and then spend your time doing those things for yourself and becoming that person who has their own place. We work towards that or whatever, or I'm learning how to cook, or I'm becoming less angry and more compassionate, whatever it is. If you're looking for it, like start doing that in your own life. And I'm not going to say that like, and that will attract that to you. It likely will, but that's not the point of it. The point is that like, the person that you're looking for like that is probably looking for someone similar like that too.
Yeah.
So if they find you and they're like, oh, this person doesn't cook, they're not nice, they don't have their whatever the thing is, you're not going to be the person that they want to be with.
Yeah.
So taking time to like make a list, whether it's mental or physical, and start working on that stuff for yourself is always a good thing to do. So if you, first, all that to say, if you're with somebody that isn't checking off those things on the list, Kelly already hit that, I would say start doing the list.
Yeah.
You know, and it might be weird if you text your partner or whatever and you're like, thinking of you, or just heard this song, they might be like, this is so out of the ordinary. But if that's the type of life you want to have, you got to do it. It's not just going to happen. Help's not coming. You got to do it on your own.
You got to make a change.
Start doing that stuff.
Yeah.
For this list that we're not giving you or sending out or anything.
Good luck. Just kidding.
All right, let's get to it.
I wanna
The
read
real
it.
part of the show. Hit me with that question.
I know.
Give me a refresher.
So how do you keep open and honest communication with your partner? And I would add on, like, how do you make sure it's effective? Because we talked about, I know I'm asking and then I'm answering, but I'll let you talk soon. I'm just kidding. Open, honest communication. But we talked about this, we've talked about this a lot, but I think it's more than just open and honest communication, because I think you can have open and honest communication with anybody, but is it effective? And is it the way that they hear, and are they actually hearing you and understanding and processing through what you're saying?
Right.
Or are you just like openly and honestly talking to someone and they're like, sure, yeah, cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, 100%. And, you know, when it comes to communication, you and I have a lot of little phrases and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure we'll be saying them all. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind moving your lip gloss, that would be so, that one is so
Oh, it's the light.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. It's going up here on the camera.
There's so many things that we talk about with communication, because one, it's a value to us, and two, it's safe to say that anyone listening, but certainly us, we've been in relationships where communication has been really great, or been really bad, or somewhere in the middle. One of the things that we say a lot, and I'm sure we've said on the show, and you were kind of alluding to it, is everyone talks about how communication is key, but we've learned that comprehension is key.
Yes.
It's not just, yes, you need to communicate, and most people do, but is the person on the other side listening? Are you listening if you're on the other side and comprehending what people are saying? One of the biggest takeaways from the marriage and relationship I had with Brooklyn's mom versus what we have now, and again, it's not to lower one in order to raise another, this is just my life, is that I didn't realize that two people could both speak English but not speak the same languages.
Yeah.
Brooklyn's mom's a great person. We just didn't communicate well. We didn't comprehend well. We didn't speak the same language.
Yeah, and they still don't. It's interesting to watch now and
Yeah.
be like, wow, like, you guys...
And not in a way that's like we're yelling at each other.
No,
it's just like, I don't understand the things that when she says something.
We could be talking about something regarding school or Brooklyn or something, and he'll tell me, she'll say something, he'll tell me how he interpreted it, and I'll look at him and be like, that's not at all what she's saying. Like, this is what she's saying. But for some reason, like, you guys just don't
oh,
speak.
that's even worse!
And it's vice versa, too, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, there are times when you send something to her, and she'll respond back, and I'm like, oh, like, she didn't understand what you said, and so I'll jump in to be like, oh, of course, like, this is what, like, we meant, or whatever. It's a very interesting thing to be a part of now.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, our co-parents, well, I mean, co-parent well.
Yeah.
It's interesting to watch it happen and go, yeah, that makes sense why you guys wouldn't have worked out, and you obviously didn't. Like, we're here now, almost 5 years of marriage.
Everybody's happy now.
Yeah, and she's married too with someone else that I think they communicate better with each other. But it's interesting to watch and be like, yeah, it makes sense why you guys didn't work out, because you for years were talking to each other but not really understanding the other person and what they were saying, and we're seeing it in like simple things. I couldn't imagine having that in the big things. Like, if we couldn't understand each other with work or like life goals or any of that stuff, I'm like, it'd be impossible.
Yeah, it's hard.
So it's not a bad thing. It just is, and I think it's important for people to know that too. With what you said, that you could you can speak the same language, but not have the same comprehension levels or understanding levels.
Yeah,
and it's not a knock on anyone. It just is. It's
just how people are wired. Yeah, it's just reality. You know what's interesting, and this is one of the things that I learned from my mom, and it's just such a guiding light in my life still, is that like, perception is reality, perception is key. Not perception is reality in the sense of what people perceive of you. Sorry, let me rephrase. Perspective, not perception. Perspective is reality, and perspective is everything. I was listening to an old podcast, like I do, because I've got podcasts that I love and just re-listen to.
That's true.
So I think this was back in 2018 or 2019 when Justin and Hailey Bieber got married.
Weird.
Yeah. But they were saying how, first of all, they were doing some interview and they were like, marriage is hard. Like, this is like, it's crazy just how difficult it is. And I was like, that is not a great sign. But they were talking about on the show, they were not the Biebers, the people on the podcast were like, did you know they're already in marriage counseling? And I was like, that's crazy. They just got married.
Yeah.
But here's the flip in perspective. We went to premarital counseling, Whitney and I, because that's kind of what you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do premarital in that sense. Yeah. And then we continued with that therapist, and I was like, how great are we? Like, we're already so committed to this, so committed to growth, so committed to, all of this stuff. Like, this is great. But then when I heard it from the Justin Bieber side, I was like, that's not a good sign. Like, the first few years are supposed to be the fun ones.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't be like, this is really hard every day, and we're already in therapy. And it changed my perspective a little bit on my real life experience of having been in, I mean, I don't think we went more than a few months without being in therapy of some sort. But had I known then what I know now, I would have been like, oh, it should have been a flag for me to go before I commit to putting two people's whole lives together, legally bound by the government. Like, I should have had the foresight to be like, we don't communicate very well, and that would have saved a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the thought as a whole of open communication. Not all the times I haven't done it, but how do you do it? Because I've got some thoughts on that. Do you have any thoughts on that too?
On what?
On the actual question at hand. Not just my experience with poor communication, but how to have that effective communication.
I think talking about the poor communication is an essential part of understanding why you have better communication now. So, like, I think we have been talking about the question at hand for the record. But, no, I mean, I have thoughts, but I mean, I think we'll bounce off each other. But I think it's interesting. The one thing people tell me all the time, because of our podcast, they say, I don't know how you guys can talk for that long.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and we just do. And truly in my mind, I go, joke's on you. Like, we don't just talk for 2 hours in a podcast and then be like, hey, peace, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Like, we literally are with each other nonstop, except when one of us is on the road or one of us is working. Like, but even then, we do the little check-ins. I mean, I was at dinner last night for a couple hours, and he texted me 3 times, which is like not a lot for us. Just to be like, I love you. Okay, I'm hopping in the shower, but I love you so much. I'm having a great time. Love you. Like,
those are literally the exact
text messages. And if he did do that, I would have been like sad. But it's just like because it's
also
so.
You wouldn't have.
No,
you wouldn't have been offended. None of that.
No. But it's like so normal for that. Like, it's so normal. It's so normal. And truly, like, we were with each other all day. We're talking all day. And then he walked me out to my car. I was in the car for about a half hour. He called me to be like, hey, just checking in, making sure you're doing okay. Like, we talk all the time.
And also, there's people listening to this who are going like, I would hate that.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, but we both like that.
Yeah, I get sad when I'm not around him. And mind you, here's the deal. What the truth is sometimes we can tell the same story to each other over and over again, and we'll be like, yeah, you already told me that today. Yeah. I don't need to hear it again. But I think... And on that note, I'll say I think there is an important thing to understanding your partner, though, and I think why a lot of people, man, I feel like I'm all over the place. You can tell me if I am. But I feel like a lot of people don't understand their partners and what their partners need. Like, you know that sometimes I just need to say something multiple times because I need to get it off my chest. It's not about you hearing it, even though I know you're hearing it. I just need someone to listen to me. I don't necessarily need you to respond. I know that you've heard it for the 3rd or 4th time that day. But I know that I just need to get it off my chest, and once I say it, like, I can let it go. And you know that too. But it is about learning that. And we've had the conversation where you're like, you know, you already told me this. And so now I'll say like, hey, I know I already said this, but I just need to say it to get it out. Yeah,
and I'll say that sometimes too. I'll be like, are you saying this again because you just need to get it off your chest? Because I already know it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm like, great, go for it.
But I could see how it would be easy for someone to be upset, to be like, you just keep talking about the same thing, and like, you're just complaining about it, and like, I don't need to hear it anymore. Yeah. And like, that can create tension within a relationship, where like, I feel like we've never really been in a place where that causes that, but we've gotten to a place where it's like, oh yeah, like, I get it. You just need to, like, you're frustrated about this thing. You've already said it, but it's not enough. Like, keep talking about it. Get it all out there so that you're good, and then we're cool.
Yeah.
We move on.
One of the things when, I don't know, it was maybe my 3rd improv class at the Groundlings, the first day they said, we're doing improv comedy, which means no one's planning on saying anything. It's just going to happen. So let's all agree that we are the type of people who are not going to say things that are hurtful, mean, or offensive in a way that is taken seriously.
Yeah.
And having that framework allowed us to play in that space and not be too worried. Of course, sometimes there would be like, I'm so sorry, that came out the wrong way, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it's similar with our relationship.
Yeah.
Is that we know that we're here, I was going to say that we're here to play. And play is a really large part of our relationship. Yeah. And I think it's an important part. Yeah. But we, at our core, know that the things we say or do or even feel is not meant to hurt the other person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like having some ground rules too, and that could be not just about, saying things that could be like, oh, that was sarcastic when you said that, or like was directed at me, whatever. It could be even just the stuff like, hey, you're texting me a lot, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or for instance, your example when you were like, you've told the same story to me 3 times, and instead of me going like, if I have to hear this story one more time, I'm gonna freaking lose it.
Yeah.
And me just going like, do you just need to be heard? A lot of people, even just with that, would be like, oh, what am I, like a burden to you?
Yeah.
Because they would let all of their own ego and hurt and feelings play into it. But I think because, just like that improv class, you and I have this framework of like, how can I help? How can I support you? If there's something weird going on, we know that we can ask the other person, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And it's not an attack. Which I think can be boiled down to what I think is the most important part of how you and I communicate, and why I think it works so well. But I do see you holding that, so I can easily hold on to mine.
I'm gonna hold it.
I think the biggest difference between you and I versus any relationship that I've ever had is, and some people are going to love this, and some people are going to hate this, but our reality in our relationship, in our marriage, how weird, I don't think I've ever referred to it as our marriage, but our relationship, is that there's total transparency.
Yeah.
In the sense that, we've talked about it on the other show, Hardly Working, before, but like when Kelly and I got together, I couldn't be like, hey, I'm this cool guy who wasn't married and doesn't have a kid. Like, there was already so many cards on the table that I was like, hey, here's all of this stuff. And you were kind of like, all right. Oh, was that the thing you thought I was going to flip out about? Because, like, we're good.
We're cool.
And so you and I have not open transparency in the sense of every time we think something we say it, which we always do as well. But there's really no stone unturned. And I think when you can find yourself in a relationship with that type of person, or be in that type of relationship, there's so much less fear about being found out, so to speak, or caught, or even just not good enough. Because those lines of communication are so open. I know that there's nothing I could do, there's definitely things I could do or say. There's nothing within the realm of possibility that I could do or say that's going to blow this whole thing up. You know, or cause you to like be really offended, unless I'm way out of line of character or something like that. But I think it's because we started off by just being like, here's all of this. And I think it's hard because that's not normal for dating. And I also would not recommend getting married, having a kid, and then starting to date again too. Like, that's not the answer. That's difficult in a different way. But when you're dating, you're kind of just putting your best foot forward, right? You're like, here's me, and then you'll start to. It's the, if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best, which is stupid. That just lets toxic people act like trash. Mostly, unless it's you. Sorry, whoever's listening to this.
No, but I think that's true. You know. You should try to always you should be the best version of yourself that you can.
Totally.
We all have our bad moments, but it's a moment. It's not another personality.
Exactly. Yeah. Your worst moments are 80% of the time. This is a problem for me. No, but I know that most of the time you're peacocking, you're presenting, like, here's why I'm so great, whatever it is. Our relationship and our story is not like that because that's not the position of life I was in. And I'm grateful for it because in prior relationships, it was just the norm, like I was describing. And as you go along, you find out more and more stuff about somebody, and you're like, oh, really, that wasn't, on the 1st through 10th date or whatever. And that's normal too, and you can work through that. I think part of what was a struggle for me is, especially in the religious culture that we were brought up in, it was a little bit like, man, if you've ever been in church, you'll understand what this means. If not, just try to track with me here. You ever been in a life group or a small group of people, and the worst thing, they're like, we're going to go around and just pray for you guys, so what do you want us to pray for? And everyone's like, I really like to read my Bible more. And you're like, that's your problem of the week? Tell me what's really happening. Sometimes I think you can get caught up in a system that's like, you can only talk about or work through the things that are like, gently difficult.
Surface level.
And it leaves you at a disservice when you come against the inevitable, huge, difficult walls in any relationship. All of a sudden it's like, It could be, I thought I knew you and I don't even know you, or that's how you think about this, or what you've done, or whatever. And it kind of blows up the whole thing because it was a little bit fragile to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, it was a little bit thin ice. For you and I won't repeat it again, but we started off in such a vulnerable place, or I was in such a vulnerable place, that it actually led us to better communication.
Yeah, I
You
agree
were
with that.
holding on to something.
Well, I'll add to that too and say I think that that's true. I think that we also give ourselves permission. I'll give the other person permission to like make mistakes. You said it, like we have a place where there's room to play. Like we're never going to intentionally say something to hurt somebody, but if it happens, like I don't think we go, I'm sorry, what? We go, okay, like help me understand that. Like why are you feeling that way? Let's talk through it. Not that that happens very often, but again, like it gives us the opportunity if one of us misspeaks or we say something wrong, like, wait, that's not like what I meant. That's just like what came out. We don't get offended. What I'm holding on to and what I was gonna say is I think the best representation of how good your communication is what your children do, because I think that they watch you and they learn.
Yeah.
And it's hard to share this because it hurt my feelings.
Yeah, go for it.
But it was like I think it's a good example. Brooklyn kind of had like a meltdown the other day. She had soccer. She didn't want to go. She was upset at what she had to put on. All this stuff. She was like so mad, and I had to put her hair up in a ponytail. And she came out and we talked. And I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And she was like, "I don't want to tell you. I don't want to tell you. Like I'm gonna get in trouble. All this
I'm
stuff.
gonna get so much trouble if I
trouble.
say it out loud.
Say it out loud." And I was like, "Hey, like we talk in this family. Like we talk about stuff. That's what we're gonna do." Ultimately, she came out and said, like, sometimes I just hate you.
Yeah.
Just hate you, Mom. It's a big word for me, like Pat knows, or SP knows. Ooh, sorry, babe.
Well, that's a real throwback.
Yeah, SP knows, like, hate and love are two very strong words that, like, you can't take them back once you say them.
Yeah.
You put it out there.
Especially hate.
Yeah. But she was, like, saying, like, hate you, Mom, and all this stuff. And I could have been, like, you know, either really upset, like that hurt my feelings, you can't say that, all this stuff come down really hard on her, or I could have shut down and been like, okay, like you hate me, so like go talk to your dad because I'm going to do this. But instead, like we do what we always do, and how you and I work too. We talked about it. Okay, like why do you feel that way right now? What's going on? Like what happened that made you feel that way? Like how can I make it better? Like what's going on? You know what I mean? And ultimately, while she was still upset walking out the door, she was able to circle fully back and look at me and be like, Mom, like, I'm really sorry. Like, I don't hate you. I love you. I'm just really upset and really mad. And I'm so sorry. Like, I don't hate you. I love you really much. And I shouldn't have said that. There's a lot more that happened in between that as we tried to navigate that situation. But for me, did it hurt my feelings? Yes, it did. But also, I was like, how great is it that this kid is learning that she can say how she's feeling in a moment, learn that maybe that's not what she meant, and apologize and be accepted for that, and be said, hey, like, yeah, maybe that did hurt my feelings, but like, I still love you, and I appreciate the way that you're learning how to communicate, and that you can be honest and open and truly learn in the moment that like, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or whatever, but like I think it's a cool thing, and maybe you can help me tie this up, but I think it's a cool thing that she can be so comfortable to be able to share how she's feeling, even if it hurts our feelings in the moment, even if it's not exactly what it is. She did something similar with you, not saying that she hated you, but like, what's the one thing that Daddy doesn't like? And what's the first thing she said?
Hit you.
Hit you.
It's like, yeah, it's definitely up there.
What else? And she said the F word. It was so funny.
But she literally said it.
Yeah.
I was
but
okay, fair.
Yeah, but she, and mind you, we're teaching her about adult words versus bad words, and how there are adult words that she shouldn't say if she's not an adult, but like, she can't say it around, if she says it around, she's not going to get like in trouble, because like, she's learning too. But I think that is the same in our relationship. Like, we're learning that we're both still learning how to communicate, and you are able to have that freedom. I don't know if any of this makes sense, and I don't know if I've been right.
No, it does, because you started off by saying, like, I think a good mark of communication, health communication, is how your kids communicate, which obviously you can have a tremendous amount of examples where that's not the case.
Yeah, for sure.
Every kid's different. But Brooklyn does tend to communicate, I think, more like us, and I'm proud of the way that we communicate to each other and to her. So I do think it's a good thing that she's able to articulate those things.
Yeah, and she sees us apologize to each other, even for the little things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if you like said something, or I said something.
Or she'll say it.
Yeah.
We may have said it on one of the shows in the past, but there was one time where I said something, and it was jokingly, but to her it came off as harsh. I said it to you.
Yeah.
And she was like, to both of us, she goes, Dad, Don't you think you could have said that nicer to mom? Like, or like, you
Don't
might
talk
want
to
to
mom like
apologize.
that,
Yeah,
yeah.
something like that. And I was like, first of all, how dare you? Second of all, you know what, you're right. Let me check in with mom. Did that hurt your feelings when I did that? And so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But I think what's super cool is that kids only know what they can and can't do based off of what's around them.
Yeah.
So if a kid sees you, whoever you are, having healthy communication and conflict with your partner or even your parents, the way you treat your parents, they'll start to see like, oh, that's what you do. Or if we do things
Yeah.
like, oh, let me check in with mom to make sure, did I hurt your feelings? Now she's got a vocabulary to be
Yeah.
like,
And
when
she
I'm
does.
in a place, yeah, she'll be like, or she'll usually say, I'm sorry I said it like that.
Yeah.
Because she'll hear it when it comes out of her mouth and be like, I should have done that differently.
Yeah.
But that's not nature, that's nurture.
Yeah.
You don't just come out of the womb going, I probably should have been nicer. You learn it by your surroundings.
Yeah.
Anything else with the kid piece of this? Because there was a couple other things I want to throw in.
No, I wanted just wanted to wrap that up and say like I think that something that sets us apart. We talk about this all the time. Oh, it's true. We talk about this all the time. That like, you know, we probably over communicate with each other. But when we look at relationships that fail, we tend to say, yeah, I mean, we could maybe see that coming because like the communication piece wasn't there.
Yeah.
And not that we're perfect at it, because that's not what we're trying to say. Like we realize that is a very special thing that we have, is that we are so comfortable with each other. We communicate all the time. We're willing to talk to each other about anything. We're willing to say sorry, you know, when we need to, or when we don't need to. Sometimes we'll say sorry, and the person's like, you don't need to say sorry. But like we know that that's a very special thing that not a lot of people have. My parents have it.
Yeah.
They communicate very similarly, like we do, which I feel really grateful for, and I tell you all the time. It's probably why I'm good at it, is because I watch them do that. But yeah, I think it's an interesting thing that I don't think a lot of people put a lot of not clout, but a lot of like weight on. I don't think when people think about a good relationship, I don't think that they think about, oh, do we have good communication? I think they're like, are we attracted to each other, and do we like each other and love each other?
Stuff, yeah, but not enough usually.
Yeah, sorry. What were you
No,
gonna say?
you're good. I was just thinking as we kind of come down the home stretch here, because we could talk about this stuff for a long time.
Yeah.
Communication is our strong point. Effective? Who knows? Engaging and
other.
entertaining? Who knows?
We're effective to each
But
other.
we are good at talking to each other. One of the things I want to do, since we're asking that question, really of like how to have that type of communication, if that's something you're interested in, and if you've made it this far, you probably are. I kind of want to break it down, especially if you do have someone in your life that you're looking to have maybe better communication with. So I want to throw out some thoughts and have you jump in at any time.
Okay.
Feel free, just jump in. Don't wait.
Okay.
I would say if you're interested in having or trying to have what you perceive as healthier communication with a partner or a spouse or whoever it is, I think first sit down and just ask yourself, do I feel like my feelings are safe with this person? Like if I were to express something to them, would I feel confident that they would respond in a way that won't hurt my feelings when I express something that's important or hard for me? If the answer is yes, awesome. If the answer is no, that doesn't mean anything. It just means you have to take a bit of a different route here to figure out A, why that's your feeling, B, is that reality or is it just a feeling, and C, how do you have that conversation with that person? So first, if you said yes, my feelings are safe, you're in a good place. If you said no, I think you have to have a conversation with that person.
Yeah.
Because unless you want to just live your whole life not having great communication,
Yeah.
which sadly a lot of people do,
Yeah.
I think you need to figure out how to have that conversation with them to say, hey, there's a few things I want to talk about, or hey, can we talk about how we do conflict? Or oh my gosh, this is the best way to do this, guys. Be honest with yourself. Figure out where you need to improve and bring that up to that person.
Well, I'll jump in here and say this too. And this is just adding on to that, I was going to say, like, if you don't know how you like to be communicated with or how you communicate, you're never going to have good communication.
Sure.
And if you don't know about yourself too, and I think I'll just say this, if you don't, Enneagram isn't the end all be all, and I totally know that, but if you don't know what Enneagram is, I would really highly suggest that you look into it, look it up. I'm a 2, you're a 3.
You can do it online.
Yeah. But that was the thing that I think really gave me good understanding about me and how I work and gave you better understanding of me and vice versa.
Yeah.
Like,
and what I love is it's not binary. It's not like, well, men act like this and women act like this. It's like, it's binary in the sense that there's 9 different options of personality types, and each of those 9, have characteristics, but inherently it's not binary because there's 9 of them. But it helps. It's not just like girls are this and guys are this.
Yeah, but it really did help, like, me understand more of myself. I'm a helper. I'm a 2. I'm a helper with a wing of an achiever. But like, I just want to be able to help people, and when I can't do that, it's hard. But I also have problems asking for help, which I've learned, and self-care and all of that stuff. But learning that made it easier. Like, I think that's why you probably asked me, like, how can I help? Because I have a hard time asking for it. But if you ask me, I can tell you.
Right.
And you're an achiever, so like you are always wanting to do the next thing. So I've learned for you, like, it's listening to what your ideas and what you want to do. It's validating them and saying yes to those things, and it's helping you figure out how do we make it happen, or being able to encourage you in the things that I'm like, yes, that's good, do that thing, like you did it, or words of affirmation for you too. At times, like it's learning those things and learning about yourself so that you can communicate, because you can't just expect the other person to understand you. We're all different. We are very similar, but we are not the same. So I can't expect you to understand how I work or my inner thoughts or any of that stuff. I have to be able to bring something to the table to tell you, like, this is how I like to be heard, or how I know that you hear me, or how I like you to talk to me.
Yeah, and I wish more people were talking about that specifically, because I've been with many therapists in relationships, and not with therapists, but couples therapy and solo therapy.
I mean, also with a therapist, so.
That is true, yes, but different. Usually they're like, hey, don't forget, your partner can't read your mind, so if you haven't said it to them, how are they supposed to know? That's great, but it is like bare bones. That's the beginning. What you're talking about is the real stuff. Is figure out how you need to be communicated to, and how your partner or spouse likes to be communicated to speak their language. For instance, I am not a person who wants a coach. I want a mentor, but I don't want a coach, because I do not respond to being yelled at. I am not motivated by being pushed hard. That is not me. I am a person who's like a mentor, who's done it, who's been there, saying, this is how I do it, let's figure out how to implement it in your life. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. But if I didn't know that about myself, you see where we're going with this. Like, you have to know what it is that you need and what you want, and how to effectively be communicated to if you're going to have that happen. Because if you don't know what it is, they're not going to know what it is. I will say this, though. There's not a single friend in our life that's in a relationship, or otherwise, that I couldn't tell you how they receive information or what's important to them. I can go down a list. I can be like, this person, it's really important to over-communicate things, or this person, it's important to be where you say you're going to be at the time you said you're going to be there. This person, really loosey-goosey, totally cool, we can change plans, we can change... I can tell that to you about everybody.
I know every single person you're talking about.
I know! So, like, basically what I'm getting at is, it's not always that hard to figure out. But give them the opportunity to say it too, and do that self-reflection.
Yeah, but it is harder in relationships, because friendships are different than like an intimate personal relationship. Like, we had to learn, for me, that like I shut down. I don't as much anymore, because I've worked through it in therapy and I've like really done the work, but like I would shut down when things got hard. I don't like to be pushed into giving an answer, because it feels like I'm forced into doing something. That's
true of you.
Yeah, like, and you had to learn that about me too, of like if you spring a question on me that's like a deep thinker or hard, like, I need some time. I can't just answer it right away. I have to process through it. But I'm also not always good at circling back, and I know that. So sometimes I do need you to circle back, and I'll tell you, like, now that you've asked me, can you circle back with me? And blah, blah, blah.
Usually I ask, are you okay if I circle back on this tonight?
But like, we know that now, and it could and has been something that has been like frustrating for you, of like, you never do this, but it's learning that you learning for me that I'm not just thinking, I'm not thinking about it, but I'm also not thinking about it and being like, I'm not actively not asking you. Goodness gracious, that was a hard thing. But,
and you're also honest when I'm like, you haven't thought about this, have you? You're like, no.
Not really.
Oh my gosh, there's so many
I know, it's so
disco
cool.
mushrooms on my face right now. I want to go back really quick to what we're talking about. If you're looking to get better communication, if you can figure out where it is that you're struggling, you're like, well, I realize when things get heated, I always yell at you. Or when things get heated, I retreat, or I shut down. If you're willing to acknowledge the pieces that you think probably need to be changed or molded, it really opens up things in a very peaceful way, rather than being like, every time this happens, you That's never going to get you anywhere. So I would say that. Figure out how to have that conversation. And if they're open to it and they're like, yeah, you know, you really do yell a lot or whatever it is. First of all, not a great response. But if you're showing them that, like, hey, I actually want this to be different and here's how I think I can make it different, it gives them the opportunity to start thinking about that themselves. And if you're like, not my so-and-so, then say like, hey, I'm going to try to work on that. It would mean a lot to me if you could think through the parts of conflict or tension that's hard for you, and see if like you can work on that too, so we can get to a happier, healthy place.
Yeah.
If that gets met with pushback, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I was gonna say it shouldn't be a tit for tat either.
What do you mean?
Like if you're able to communicate what you need, and they're like, well, I'll do that if you do. Well, I'm not gonna do that until you blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like. Probably not the right relationship. I'm gonna be really honest. That's what we're here to do, be honest. Like, you have to find someone that's gonna also be willing to communicate with you. And if you were putting in the work and they're not, I don't know that you'll ever get to the communication level that you want to be at. Because it isn't, it should never be, well, I'll do this, but you'll have to do that. It can be like, I'm gonna work on this. Like, will you also work on that? And the other person should be like, yes, of course.
Totally.
You know, that is meeting at a place where you guys are hearing each other, where you're willing to come together and say, yeah, we each have our own issues and own problems, which we all have our own issues and own problems. It's just learning, it's truly learning how to work within your relationship, and being willing to accept that the other person is imperfect, but we're going to do it together. And we're going to fill in the voids where you have issues with where we're strong. Because that's true, what it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Here's the deal. Especially if you're married, I don't think that if you're in a position like this, you're just married to the wrong person. That's definitely possible.
Yeah.
But most of us get married because we are excited about a person and we're in love with them. And sometimes that just kind of, if you're living parallel lives like this, like one person just goes a little degree off or the other person does, and then all of a sudden you just keep going further and further.
Apart,
and with time, like things change. And I don't mean strictly you're growing apart, but I mean like you used to communicate so effectively, and now for some reason it's always arguments every night. I would say before you're like, forget this person, remember that it didn't used to be like that.
Yeah.
If it's always been like that, that's not a great situation to be in, but it's still salvageable. Or maybe you need to be with a different person, to be frank. But remember back to those times where it was good, and figure out, like, are there things that I can tap into there? So a couple things I want to add to this. Along those same lines of, like, what can we do? Second thing, I think something that's really important in terms of effective communication, and this is something that I've really had to try to learn all the way up to believe, because I just didn't feel that way. But remember that everyone is an individual.
Yeah.
Everyone is the main character in the story that is the book of their life.
That's true.
You listening are a side character in your partner's life. You may be the most important one, but you're a side character.
Yeah.
Just like they're a side character to your life. We're all seeing it through our lens. And I think giving people autonomy to be who they are in their weirdness, their silliness, the things that they want to do and try, as long as it's not hurting them, it's not hurting you or other people, then give people autonomy to be who they are and to enjoy themselves. And don't feel like just because you're married, you have to have the same beliefs, hobbies. You should have a lot of the same beliefs, hopefully, if you feel like that. But if there's stuff like, I don't want to give any examples, I don't want to trigger anybody, but if there's things we disagree on, it shouldn't always be like a deal breaker. It's like, okay, like that's not how I feel about it.
Yeah, he doesn't want to go to Paris, but I do.
Yeah, deal breaker. It's good fun. But just remember that people are individuals. And just like you don't want to be controlled and you don't want people telling you how to live your life, they probably feel that way too.
Yeah.
That does not excuse poor behavior, abusive behavior, hurtful and hateful behavior. It's not an excuse for any of that. But remember that everyone's living their own life. And then the third thing that I want to make sure that I said is whatever the thing that is in your life or relationship that causes tension, you know, that reoccurring thing or area or issue that's always coming back up, or you get mad because you were late to something and then somehow it denigrates down to this thing that it's not even about, but now we're yelling. Whatever that thing is for you, that has got to be addressed and approached, but it also has to be addressed and approached outside of an argument.
Yeah.
You cannot fix that stuff in the midst of an argument.
No, I know it makes it worse.
And I would say this too, based on our experience together, I used to, if there was areas that we had conflict in, I would just later on be like, hey, so this thing, and to you that still wasn't enough to feel confident, you told me, like, if you can say, hey, can we talk tonight about X, Y, or Z?
Yeah.
You're like, yes, that gives me time to think about it. I might give you whatever the question is. Like, I've been wondering this. Can we talk about it at dinner?
To prepare, yeah.
Totally, and that's easier.
It's not just prepare an answer. It's prepare my
Your
heart,
thoughts.
my mind, my thoughts, and to prepare my, because I know that I'm a person that shuts down.
Yeah.
To prepare myself to be like, I'm not going to shut down. Like, so let me bring some stuff to the table, or I know that he's not accusing me of anything, because that's what I can feel like sometimes. Not that you've ever accused me of anything, but like for a person that shuts down.
Yeah.
When conflict happens or when big stuff happens, it can feel like you're being accused of something, and so like you're never going to quote unquote win.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's always going to be your fault. You're always going to be the problem or the issue, when that's like not even what's happening. So it gives the opportunity for me to prepare myself to be like, that's not what's happening. Like we're just talking about something.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen as much anymore because I've worked through it in therapy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But that's part of it too, is like you and you've spent a lot of time in therapy working on yourself, and look, some of y'all aren't ready to go into therapy, or you think it's stupid, or you don't want to do it, or don't have the money, or whatever. Dude, we're just passing on the learnings that we've learned through therapy. Like, we don't have any answers. None of this is really advice, but I do hope that it's helpful, because we've spent thousands of dollars and many, many days of our lives in therapy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it allows you all of those things. And I would going back to our initial example of like, hey, this is what I'm going to work on. Can you think about something that you're going to work on? If you do the same thing where you go, and can we talk about that on Friday?
Yeah.
Would you mind sharing with me your thoughts on this day? It gives a deadline that isn't absurd. It's not like, what, you know what you're bad at, tell me now.
Yeah.
It gives them time to think about it. It still is keeping everything on an even-keeled, chill, calm place. And it gives you the opportunity to actually follow back to see if there's going to be any changes happening. Also, you should be ready in that conversation to be like, here's what I've learned, or here's what I'm doing too.
Yeah.
Like, if you take ownership of it by yourself, if you take ownership of it, that hopefully will motivate them to continue doing that.
Yeah.
And if you keep running into walls where that's not the case, there's probably something worse than not worse, there's something different than communication problems happening.
Yeah.
If you have a partner who's just unwilling to do any of the work.
And what I'll say to add on to that too, if that's okay.
Yeah, and then we'll probably start wrapping it up.
Yeah, I would say, like, remember in those times that it's still a partnership. It should never be like me against you. It's like we're still coming together in a partnership because none of us are perfect and we're figuring it out. So if you don't like something that I'm doing, or you have an issue with something, like you said, bringing to the table how you can change, or being able to ask a question like, what can I do to help you in that? Or how can I participate? Whatever that is, like, remembering that it should never be like, well, you're doing this. Like, you're partners.
Yeah.
In everything, even in the things that one person is doing, quote unquote, wrong, because it's not a wrong or right, doing that you don't like you're still partnering in that, and you still have to help them. You can't just expect them to do all the work and make all the change while you sit on your throne, like, yeah, you make the change. Like, it's a together thing.
Yeah, that's such a good point, and I've seen just so many relationships be like that. And usually, and I apologize for painting with a broad brush here, but usually it's the dudes who are like, get your stuff together. Like, I'm fine. I can't tell you, and I wouldn't tell you, especially on air, the amount of couples and life groups that I've been in where that is just the case. It is the patriarchy, and like, well, she can figure it out. If she needs a therapist, she can go do that, but like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're not fine.
Yeah.
Because your marriage is miserable.
Yeah.
And I have to sit here every Tuesday night for 2 hours hearing you guys complain about how bad it is, but how you're not the problem.
Yeah.
Like,
and for all you guys out there, if you hadn't heard the Barbie monologue that Gloria does about that stuff, like, they can give you some insight of what's happening inside a woman's brain all of the time. And so when you bring stuff to us as females, like, we already have all these other things that we feel not good enough about, or that we're trying to combat all the time. That when you bring one more thing to us that we need to work on because we're the problem, guess what? Like, it's not really motivating to work on it. It's not that we don't love you or don't want to make things better. It's just like, it's the feeling of defeat. Like, if you don't even know me well enough to understand that as a female, there's just so much stuff that's always going on in my mind that I'm always thinking about, that you want to complain about this one thing, but you don't want to put the work in either. Like, it doesn't make me want to.
yeah. It's hard being a woman out there.
Yeah.
Just like the great poet said, it is me. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me.
Taylor Swift. But I'm grateful that you meet me where I'm at all the time, and that you truly, you just love me for who I am, and you know me in such a way that you can make changes that help me communicate better. I don't know if that makes sense, but like that's so true.
Yeah, and you know what's I don't know. For me, it feels like a big difference is that it is often a joy to make those changes. It's never like, oh, I didn't realize I sucked at this. This is awesome to change. But it's a joy in the sense of, to take it back to that original question, not the question for the episode, but about how to make that change, in saying, can I trust this person with my feelings and with my heart? Like, I never have that doubt about you, and I'm sure you feel the same way. So when you do bring something up to me that needs to be changed, I'm like, she's probably right. And two, great, this is a way that I get to continue to communicate care to the person that I'm like, hey, I'd actually like to spend every day of the rest of my life with you. So, like, what a cool opportunity to hopefully make a small change to have a big impact.
Well, and I think it makes a difference too, that when you're able to talk to your partner not only about the changes that they need to make, like that are negative, like, hey, this is hurting me negatively, but when you're able to talk about the positive things too, hey, you should do more of this because that's like amazing and incredible, or like, hey, I love when you did that. Like, the positive reinforcement is important too, and I think helps some of, not the negative reinforcement, but helps that, like, when you're like, hey, when you did this, it kind of hurts my feelings, it doesn't feel as much of an attack on like who you are as a person or your character, because there's so much of the positive reinforcement happens. Like, man, I love when you do that. It's so great. Or like, it's so great that you just texted me or whatever. You know, does that make sense? I don't know.
Kelly always sends me these texts back. I'm like, hey, I love you. She's like, this is so great. You're doing great.
No, but it's a reminder that like, you love me and you're here for me and we're in it together. So when you tell me the hard things, like, hey, when you said that, like, hurt my feelings, or if you could just change the way you, whatever it is, like, it doesn't feel like the end of the world, because there's so much positive overflow in my
And
tank.
also, we typically say things like, you probably didn't mean it this way, but fill in the blank. And I do agree with the positivity. The positive affirmation's got to be there, or else it just doesn't work. Like, relationships don't work without positive reinforcement. I would say along those lines too, in terms of positive versus negative, if you can bring something up or have a conversation where you take a negative thing and you don't flip it to be positive, but you flip the way that you say it to be positive, the results are much better. Rather than saying, why do you always yell at me when we're fighting? Yeah. If you can say, like, what can we do to make sure that we don't raise our voices when we're fighting? That's just a different way to say the same thing. It's less attacking, it feels less personal, it's a we instead of a you, and instead of being like, why are we yelling? It's, how can we speak calmly, or whatever it is. But if you can kind of take those phrases and flip them around to have, I would just say, less of the negative connotations to it. Yeah. Just like you're saying, like, we're filling each other's tanks with positivity throughout the day, so when we have negative moments, it's not as bad. Those will make the negative conversations that have to happen, need to happen in a healthy relationship, a little bit more easy to get through. Yep. Anything else you want to throw in?
Just that I love you.
I love you too.
I'm grateful for our relationship and our communication.
Me too. I know this this show is all just one way for me to be like, look how great we are.
We have our stuff too, but...
of course, just like anybody.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're any better than anybody else. But I do find myself very, very grateful to have found you, fell in love with you, married you, spent the rest of my life with you. All of those gushy emotions. Because you and I did not meet as a perfect fit, but we've done a lot of work to fit really well together. Yeah. And I'm grateful for that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm grateful for you.
You're the sweetest.
Thank you.
And I love you. I'm grateful for you too.
And we love you guys too.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed this episode of Hardly Working Through It. Next week we got another one. Do you have the question for that pulled up, Kelly? What is the question?
Yeah, next week we're answering the question, how do you cultivate and maintain a positive self-image?
Ooh, this is the first time I'm hearing that.
I'm excited about this.
So I'm sure we'll talk about positive self-image physically, positive self-image mentally, everything in between. Yeah. I gotta go prepare for that show. Yeah. So until next time, we love ya. We need you. We hope you spend most of your week hardly working through it. Bye.